Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Anna, and I'm with the New Mexico Small Business Development Center. Today, we have Estefanita joining us, who is the Center Director of New Mexico Small Business Development Center's New Mexico Technology Commercialization Accelerator. Estefanita will be presenting Cybersecurity Awareness. If you wouldn't mind advancing to the next slide.
Let me see if I get there. Wait, just a minute. Wait.
Yeah, no problem.
There you go.
Awesome. So this slide features some of the COVID-19 business resource links, which I won't go over in detail. We'll send you a copy of these after the presentation via email. And next slide, we'll be using the Q&A function to take questions and welcome attendee participation. So don't hesitate to ask us any questions you may have. Definitely don't be shy. We want those questions from you. And we will answer those during and at the end of the webinar. And lastly, if you should visit our website at newmexicosbdc.org to view our upcoming no-cost webinars or to sign up for our no-cost counseling services. I will also send a follow-up email to you with this information. Thanks so much for joining us, and without further ado, I will hand it over to you, Estefanita.
Okay, welcome to. I'm here in Socorro, New Mexico, so welcome. Today I want to talk to you about cyber awareness. This month of October is Cyber Awareness Month, so we are having a presentation on cybersecurity, an introduction to protecting your small business. In the news, we continue to hear about ransomware, data breaches, the dark web, and other events that are happening to our businesses and our elders, our computers. Sometimes in the morning, you don't even want to get up and open your computer because those adversaries are out to get you. The other topic you are hearing a lot about is in the form of cyber hygiene, cyber awareness, and protecting your data and information on your computers or protecting your electronic devices. We're hearing on the news and on our social media that you should be aware that someone is trying to get your personal information. They will get your data and sell it to someone on the dark web, or they're trying to get money out of you via ransomware or via phishing. My goal today is to expose and educate you on cybersecurity and what you can do to protect your data, which could include customer information, supplier information, banking information, or any important information on your computer, including the computer itself. Today, we will go over some terminology, and then we will talk about some organizations that have set up security standards to help one protect one's data, privacy, devices, and businesses from criminals that want to hack your systems. Okay, sorry that I saw a chat and it was yours, Annalise.
Yeah, that was me just sending through some information. My apologies.
Okay, today, so we're going to go over some terminology, and then we'll talk about some organizations that have set up security standards to help one protect their data, privacy, devices, and businesses from criminals that want to hack your systems. Then we'll talk about some best practices that can be put into place to help keep your company, employees, and customer data safe while doing business with you. At the end, we will provide some resources, and then we will have a Q&A session. So some of the terminology that we'll go over is cyber. So cyber is anything related to or involving computers or computer networks. It's any device used to access the internet. Cybersecurity is the protection of computer systems and networks from unauthorized users. And understand that, unauthorized users. You do have users, but then you have unauthorized users. And those are your adversaries. And a cyber attack is when an unauthorized user tries to get access to your computer or computer network in order to steal your data or to damage your software, hardware, or to disrupt the services you provide. Lately, you've heard a lot of companies that have been disrupted, and that might be the oil companies. They locked up their systems. Nobody could use it. So a plan needs to be in place. Phishing is an email method used to attempt to obtain your credentials so that they can get into your computer system. Phishing is the number one way a hacker can compromise your system. So sometimes you get those emails and you go, who is this? They'd never send me an email, but there's a link. Do not press that link unless you know who is actually sending you an email. Okay, so then we have ransomware. Okay, ransomware is software that gets access to your system and may encrypt your data and lock you out of your own devices and or systems and demand a ransom to be paid. Once the payment has been made, a key could be provided and allow you to access your system again. But during that time, they may have obtained your data and then they're selling it someplace. So you really want to avoid getting to a ransomware attack. A virus is an unauthorized software running on your system with the intent to break the system or allow other hackers to use your system. Last week, they arrested some person that had over 100,000 computers. He had access to over 100,000 computers. And what he does is he gets control of them. And the software could just be sitting on your computer, not even knowing. And then one day he comes out and he uses it as a bot. And so a bot is like one of those calls you get, an automatic dialer. And so a bot can target one system and bring it down with everybody trying to get access to that computer. So you just have to protect your stuff. So, okay, sorry, I went off on a tangent. Okay, so then, so ransomware, they get access to your system, they encrypt your data, they lock you out, or they can be used to obtain access to your system and use your system as something else. As a bot, it could be used as a bot. So virus is an unauthorized software running on your system with intent to break the system or allow the hackers access to your system. And antivirus is software that runs on your computer and it identifies viruses running on a system. And what happens with them is either they quarantine the virus or they uninstall the bad software. And malware is any type of malicious software that is designed to cause harm to computers, servers, and or devices. And a data breach is when your data is stolen and either sold to the dark web or published on the hacker's website. And then hacked is when you get notification that someone has your data and they'll be requesting money to release your system. So these are some of the terminology that you will hear. And I thought it might be a good idea to know. So some of the terms we mentioned have to do with data, computer systems, and networks, and what happens when cybersecurity best practices are not in place. We've all been attending webinars and reading information regarding cybersecurity awareness. And some of the awareness that they keep telling you about is keep your software up to date. So when you see your computers need update them. Your servers, if you have servers for your business, make sure that especially all your security updates are done. So keep your software up to date, run up to date antivirus software. use strong passwords, change default usernames and passwords. Sometimes you may get like a new camera for your system or a new router, and it may have a password like the default user's name admin and the password is name admin. Change those because they produce all kinds of routers with that same default password. So everybody would have that password. So change those default usernames and passwords. That's real important. And then lately you've been hearing a lot about multi-factor authentication. So implement that. Sometimes you will go to a website and you will have your user login and the password. And then they'll say, we're sending your number, the next code that you need to enter, which is the second authentication, to your telephone. And so then you get that code and then you enter it in where it says enter code. So that is, you used your user login, you entered your first password, then they send you another code and you use that code to log in again. And that is multi-factor authentication. And that's a big deal now. So you have to have your other device available to access the system. And then another thing that you hear about is installing a firewall, which is good. It's another entrance that the adversaries have to get through to get to your privacy information, your data. That's very important. And then also be suspicious of unexpected emails. So you get an email and you know your bank doesn't send you emails and it has your bank on it. Contact your bank and say, did you guys send me an email? Don't open that link, and make sure you let your employees know that too, okay? So all this information is good, okay? And there are several federal agencies that have set up tools to help businesses get started with privacy and security processes to help keep your computer system secure and your data private. NIST is the National Institute of Standards and Technology. The NIST is a government agency that has been tasked to create cybersecurity standards, guidelines, and best practices for the U.S. industry, federal agencies, private and public businesses. The website where they run out of is www.nist.gov. So the website has a list of many documents, and they call them frameworks. And these are the recommendations that they put out there. And so today we're going to talk about two of the frameworks that they have out there. And the first one is called Privacy Framework, which has to do with keeping private your data that you are collecting. So that's a privacy network. And then the other framework we're going to talk about is cybersecurity, which keeps all your services, all your network and everything else secure. So let's see. So the first, oh wait, sorry. Okay, so the first privacy is the first framework is called the NIST framework. And just give me a minute to move forward. I have to make sure I have, okay. So the NIST Privacy Framework is a voluntary tool that can help your organization create or improve a privacy program. Effective privacy risk management can help you build trust in your products and your services and communicate better about your privacy practices and meet your compliance obligation. That way, if anybody asks you, do you have a plan in place? You go, yeah, I'm working off the privacy framework. I learned about it through the SBDC webinars. So I'm getting compliant, and at least I know something that's going on. So they have some of their ideas, and so they talk about identity, governor, control, protect, and communicate. So we'll go through each one of them. So what they want you to do is they want you to get ready to create and improve your privacy program by using this privacy framework to build a strong foundation for identifying and managing your risks, managing your privacy risks. So when you're starting your list, you want to identify your data you are processing, such as what are you collecting, who are you sharing your information with, and who are you storing it, or where are you storing it? And map out its flow through your system throughout the full data cycle. So from collection to disposal. So if you get a new customer and you track some of their information and you keep them in your database, learn it. Learn where you're storing your data. Learn why you're storing your data. Conduct a privacy risk assessment by using your data map to assess how your data processing activities can create problems for individuals. Like, what happens if you release that information? Is it going to be embarrassing? Is there going to be an economic loss? Access the impacts to your organization if the problems occurred. Like, would your customers lose your trust? Will you get a bad reputation if you have been hacked? You need to learn about your data and identify it and know where it's at. And then ask about options for contracts and the products and services you use to run. Ask what their privacy policy is and their priorities. And then you need to govern it. You need to identify it, and now you need to govern it. So it starts at the top. If you're the owner, know your system. If you have people below you, train your people. But you need to come up with a plan. So determine which privacy values your organization is focused on, like data control, anonymity, transparency. Connect your organization's privacy values and policies with your privacy risk assessment to foster trust in your products and services. Know your privacy legal obligations so that you can build compliant products and services. And help your workforce know their roles and responsibilities so they can make better decisions about how to effectively manage privacy risks in the design and implement of your products and services. And then regularly assess your privacy risks. You know, every year you should update them regularly, check them out. If something happens, you install a new system, make sure you go back to your risks and check and your plans to make sure that they're updated. The next thing they want you to do is to control. Now that you know that your privacy risks and legal obligations, and you have a governance structure, your organization can focus on the policies and technical capabilities for your systems and products and services. So control, are you collecting, sharing, and keeping data that you don't need? Maybe you have extra data. If you have clients, are you collecting their social security and birth date? You don't need that. I mean, unless you really do need it first, but you don't need to collect so much information. You need to decide and have control over your data and data collection. And consider how your policies help you or other organizations control over data and how individuals might have a role as well. Take your privacy risks and legal obligations to account when deciding the functionality of your systems, products, and service. Consider flexible design so that you can respond more cost effectively to shifting customer privacy preferences in a dynamic legal environment. And what kind of data processing are you doing? the more you can disassociate data from individuals and devices, the greater the privacy gains. Then you want to protect, control who logs onto your network, and use your computers and other devices. Now that everybody has gone home to work, who's using your home computers? Are your employees letting their kids use the computers because they have to take the classes? Know who's using and logging on to your network. Use security software to protect your data. Encrypt sensitive data at rest and in transit. So have it encrypted while it's been stored, and then when it's moving out to the other systems, encrypt it. Conduct regular backups of your data and test your backups. Make sure your backups make sure you know that your backups work. And also, when doing the backup, don't backup connected to the internet, because if you have somebody out there listening and they need the access via internet to be on your computer, turn it off so then you can do a backup of your data. You don't want to be connected. Update security software regularly, automating those updates if possible, and have formal policies for safety, disposing of data and old devices. You need that for the protection. And then communicate, okay? Educate your employees on your data processing activities, educate them on security, come up with a plan. If you have a data breach, how will you provide any notification? You need to come up with a plan. So with the NIST and regarding your data privacy, you need to identify what data you're collecting. You need to govern it and go, am I meeting my obligations with my other suppliers? Control what the data you're collecting and protect it, doing your backups, doing your updates, and then make sure that your employees are educated also on data security and making sure you know who's getting access to that data. So, okay, then the next, just give me 1 minute. I have to move around. Sorry, guys. Okay, the next framework we're going to talk about is called the cybersecurity. And remember when we went through the terminology, cybersecurity has to do with all your devices. So this is just a quick guide that they have for that the NIST has come up with the cybersecurity framework. And pretty much it's identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. And we'll go through each of those. So I lost my script with all these windows up, guys. Okay, so identify. You want to develop an organizational understanding to manage cybersecurity risks, systems, assets, data, and capabilities. So identify your critical enterprise processes and assets. For example, you could be maintaining a website to retrieve payments, protecting customer patient information securely, or ensuring that your information your enterprise collects remains accessible and accurate. So you want to identify all your critical process. So I'm connected to the internet via my website. My customers are putting in their information on the website. You have to identify it. And then again, document your information flow. How does that flow? It goes from the website, goes into a server, into a database. So you've got to document the whole process of the data you're collecting. And let's see, so it's important not only to understand what type of information your enterprise collects and uses, but also to understand where the data is located and the flows, especially where contracts and external partners are engaged. So if you have your suppliers, or if you're a supplier and you have their information, it's real important to know your system. What they're telling you is know your system, because if an adversary wants access to your system, he will learn that system like you would not believe. He wants to own it, so he is going to learn everything about it. But you, as the owner of your data and your systems, should know your systems thoroughly. Another thing that you should do is maintain your hardware and software inventory. Do an inventory. Why are you using the hardware? Why are you using the software? Do you have extra stuff that you're not using it? Well, then why are you maintaining it if it's extra? So it's important to have an understanding of the computers and softwares in your enterprise, because these are frequently the entry points of malicious actors, the adversaries. I'm taking a cybersecurity class and they call them adversaries. So I kind of like that word. They're the dark, mean guys that want to hack your system. The inventory can just be a simple spreadsheet. You go, okay, I use my accounting system, I use my HR system, I have my student database, I have 3 printers, I have access to the computers, I have 5 computers. You do an inventory and then you'll go, who's accessing all this stuff? So you have to start out and know your system. And establish policies for cybersecurity that include roles and responsibilities. So who has access to your HR data? Who has access to your client information? Who has access to your suppliers' information? You need to know these, and don't just give everybody your information or the roles. They should be divided up by the job description, or who's going to maintain your client databases, who's going to maintain the HR businesses. And everybody doesn't need access to unless they need it during the job. So there's your roles and your responsibilities and who has access to it. So these policies and procedures should be clearly describe your expectations of how cybersecurity activities will protect your information and systems, and how they support critical enterprise processes. Cybersecurity policies should be integrated with other enterprise risk considerations. And then you should also identify threats, vulnerabilities, and risk to assets. The vulnerabilities are where the adversary will come in. So ensure your risk management processes are established and managed to ensure internal and external threats. Ensure risk responsibilities are identified and prioritized, executed, and results monitored. So that's the first thing, is to identify. So we want to identify and your critical processes, document your flows, do an inventory, establish policies for your roles and responsibility, and then identify threats and vulnerabilities. The next thing we want to do is protect. So develop and implement the appropriate safeguards to ensure delivery of services. So here you're going to manage access to assets and information. So you've already identified your assets and your information. And the first part was that, and now you want to manage it. Create unique accounts for each employee and ensure that users only have access to information, computers, and applications that are needed for their job. Don't open it up to everybody. Have your roles and responsibility. Authenticate users with their passwords, the multi-factor techniques. These users are going to have access to your information in your computers and your applications. Tightly manage and track physical access to devices. And then here you go, protect your sensitive data. If your enterprise stores or transmits sensitive data, make sure that this data is protected by both encryption, both while it's stored on computers, as well as when it's transmitted to other parties. Consider utilizing integrity checking to ensure any approved changes of the data have been made, securely delete and destroy data when it's no longer needed or required for compliance purposes. Conduct your regular backups. Many systems have built-in backup capabilities. Software and cloud solutions are also available. A good practice is to keep one frequently backed up set of data offline to protect it against ransomware. So when you do your backups, make sure you're not connected to the internet, and also test your backups. Because if you have a backup and you can't restore from it because you never tested it and wondered if it worked or not, and you have to restore and your data doesn't work, your restore doesn't work, well then you should have tested it. Sorry. Anyway, conduct your regular backups. So securely protect your device. Consider installing host-based firewalls. A firewall's good, and other protections such as an endpoint security products. So you don't just keep your data private, secure. You have to keep your software and your hardware and your communications with your people. So those are where some of your vulnerabilities are going to be. So apply uniform configurations to define and control changes to define configuration. Disable services and features that aren't necessary to support mission functions. Then you have to manage your device vulnerabilities. Regularly update both the operating system and applications that are installed on your computers and other devices to protect them from the attack. If possible, enable automatic updates. Consider using software tools to scan devices for additional vulnerabilities. So you have to make sure that you know your system, and then train your users. Regularly train and retrain all users to be sure that they are aware of your enterprise cybersecurity policies and procedures and their specific roles and responsibilities as a condition of employment. So your users are one of your vulnerabilities. They may leave their computers open, and if they have some applications open and somebody walks by, other people may see it. Phishing is a good thing that your users may get caught. So train them, just let them know. So the next item you want to do is detect, develop, and implement the appropriate activities to identify the occurrence of a cybersecurity event. So test and update detection process. Develop and test processes and procedures for detecting unauthorized entities and actions on the networks and in the physical environment, including personal activities. Staff should be aware of their roles and responsibility for detection and related reporting, both within your organization and to external governance and legal authorities. So your IT, if you have an IT in your, and they would be able to do your detection. Sometimes you don't even know that you have a virus on your computer, and they may just sit dormant until their manager decides to use your computer. Maintain and monitor logs. Logs are crucial in order to identify anomalies in your enterprise computers and applications. These logs record events such as changes to systems or accounts, as well as the initiation of communication channels. Consider using software tools that can aggregate these logs and look for patterns or anomalies from expected network behavior. And know the expected data flows of your enterprise. If you know what and how data is expected to flow in your enterprise, you are much more likely to notice when the unexpected happens. And unexpected is never a good thing when it comes to cybersecurity. Unexpected data flows might include customer information being exported from an internal database and exiting the network. If you have contracted work to a cloud or manager service provider, discuss with them how they track data flows and report, and including unexpected events. And so your IT, or if you have a contractor, should be able to do this for you. And understand the impact of cybersecurity events. So if a cybersecurity event is detected, your enterprise should work quickly or thoroughly to understand the depth of the impact. Seek help, have a plan in place, communicating information on the event with the appropriate stakeholders will help keep you in good terms of partners, oversight bodies, and others, like investors, and it will help you improve policies and processes. And so develop and implement the appropriate activities to take actions regarding a detected cybersecurity event. So ensure that your response plans are tested. It's even more important to test response plans to make sure each person knows the responsibilities in executing the plan. The better prepared your organization is, the more effective the response is likely to be. This includes knowing any legal reporting requirements and required information sharing. So this has to do with your business. Are you required to report it to your investors, your stakeholders? Then ensure your response plans are updated. Testing and planning. Here we go, testing and planning. Plan and execute a test. Be sure to update response plans with lessons learned and coordinate with internal and external stakeholders. It's important to make sure your enterprise response plans and updates include all stakeholders and external service providers. They can contribute to improvements in planning and execution. And then we have recover. Okay, develop and implement the appropriate activities to maintain plans for resilience and restore any capabilities of services that were impaired due to cybersecurity event. So you'll have to communicate. So you're recovering. You've been hacked, and now you're going to recover. So communicate with your external stakeholders. Part of recovery depends on effective communication. Your recovery plans need to carefully account for what, how, and when information will be shared with various stakeholders so that all interested parties receive the information they need, but not inappropriate information is shared. Ensure recovery plans are updated and manage public relations and company reputation. One of the key aspects of recovering is managing the enterprise reputation. When developing a recovery plan, consider how you will manage your public relations so that your information sharing is accurate, complete, and timely, not reactionary. So this framework was for your cybersecurity, and it include identify, protect, detect, respond, recover. Identify your main items, protect them, detect if anything has been put in, respond if you've been, how you're going to respond, how you're going to notify everybody. And then also your recovery, have a recovery plan. I have a Q&A. On top of training, how can I make sure my business and our cybersecurity, such as such as customer info, credit card info, is safe if my employees have access to this. So training your users that this is part of their job to have to keep this information private is part of your business plan, and how you can, and you need to train them so that they know that the information is confidential. If they have access to the data, they should be using the data. If they do not use the data, and like they're like reporting or accounts payable or receivable, that's where your roles and responsibilities come in place. You need to distinguish who has access to your data and why they need access. And if they don't need access for the job, they do not need access to the data. And then you just need to emphasize that your business is, the security in your business is very important, so you guys can continue to be a business. And so you need to train them on their roles and responsibilities, why they have their data. If they don't need access, don't give them access to it. And then you would have the different users and roles and responsibilities under that category, and just communicate with them. And then you might even have like a NDA or some kind of disclosure agreement that says that they're not allowed to release this information, and violations would be terminations of their job or something. But you need to make sure that if they have access to the data, they are using the data. And I hope that answers your question. Let's see. How long should I keep customer information? So, okay, I'm going to mark that answered live. So if you have responsibilities to the IRS that you need to keep your customer information, then that would determine how long you need to use it. If your customers are returning customers and you want to keep that information, maybe you sell them the same thing every 3 months, or then you would want to keep them as long as you have a customer. But mostly you find out how long you keep your data is with your policies and procedures. So why do you need to keep the data? Anytime you're working with data like that, you go, why am I storing it? What do I need it for? Is there a policy that I need? Is there a report I need to do it? And determine that. And then if your customers are one time, then you can purge them after. And when you do that, make sure that you delete everything. Make sure that they're deleted from the customer database, from the sales. You have to make sure that they're gone from the system completely. So as long as your policies in place tell you need your data for this long, that's how long you would have to keep it. Can you just give me just 1 minute? Just 1 minute. So, okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I had to plug in my computer. Okay, I have another question. Okay. So let me see where I'm at. And thank you guys for being patient, and thank you for the questions. So we've gone over the privacy framework, where we identified our privacy, our data, and how we're going to govern it. So there's your govern. How long do I need to keep it to be compliant? My business needs to be compliant, and whatever you're compliant with. If you're compliant with the government, if you have a federal agency that you do business with, that will determine how long you keep your data. Controlling it, protecting it, communicating to your employees what needs to happen. Cybersecurity, you work with your IT people. Again, you identify all your you identify all your devices that you use to protect them, make sure your software, antivirus is under your firewalls. Look at your logs to detect any anomalies, and come up with a plan to respond for your information if you've been hacked, and then a way you will recover. So you have to have those processes in place. And it's a good idea to have all that stuff in place, because you never know with these adversaries. So there's another agency, and it's called Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. And again, this is an agency that helps, it leads the nation's strategic and unified work to strengthen the security, resilience, and workforce of the cyber ecosystem to protect critical services and the American way. So what I'm going to do here is they talk about having a cybersecurity strategy, develop security awareness, communicate to your people, protect your critical assets and apps, ensure that only those who need access have access, make sure your data is backed up, and develop a crisis response. But what I want to show you wait, I'm sorry, I went too far. What I want to show you is I'm going to share a website here, and these guys have let me see. These guys have a lot of good cue cards, and I'm going to get to this website, and I'm going to share it. So just give me a minute. Okay. Okay, can you see my website? Can you see that, Annalena? Okay, so this is called the site. Okay, thanks. This is called the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. And I have a link at the end of my presentation to this, but I wanted to show you that they have all these toolkits. And these are the neatest things. So on phishing, they have this tip card, and they give you examples, and you can use these to help train your employees. And they say, when in doubt, throw it out. If you get an email, you look suspicious, throw it out. Don't automatically push that link, because somebody sends you an email that you don't know. They'll get your information. Again, use good passwords, make passwords long and strong, and update antivirus software. Let me see if I can go back. Okay, another one talks about malware. And so it talks about the different malwares and how they affect your system. And I just think that these links are really pretty good, because there's best practices for creating a password. You can get there, look at them, decide what you want to do with them, if you want to do anything. But there's information out there. How do you recognize it? Phishing attacks, imposter scams, keep a clean machine. There's just so much out here. And I think it's good to know that. Let me see what else I have. So between, so those are nice cheat sheets that I call with the different topics, and this is a good place to go for ideas and quick information. So you've heard about some ransom horror stories, some data breaches, cyber attacks. They're real. And as a small business owner, you need to be aware and come up with a plan. What we're trying to get here is come up with a plan, have a plan. Somebody's out there to get you. Protect your small business, your customers, your employees, and all your information. It's everybody's responsibility to keep our cyber clean and safe. Today, I have exposed you to terminology and resources where a small business can get information to help getting started protecting your business. I recommend you put a simple plan in place, do backups, and make sure your restore works. Educate your employees and yourself on safe measures to take protection to protect your business, and educate everybody on being safe on the internet. Someone is out to get you. So I will have, I think I put them here. I have all these resources. So those websites, those links I went to and talked about are all here. And you can, Annalena will send out my presentation to everybody. And then there will be a recording too. So I have Q&A. Do we have any questions out there? Let me see what I have over here.
I don't see anything new in the Q&A, I believe. Or did you just see something, Steffi?
No, I don't think you're seeing mine. Correct.
Okay.
Did you see my resources? I don't think you saw my resources that I had on the website. Okay. Okay, so this is part of the presentation. So I had that, and then these are your resources here. Can you see those links?
Yes, I can see those. And just a reminder to everybody, I will be emailing those out to you. So no need to write those down.
Right.
You should get that later on today, most likely, if not tomorrow at the latest. And I'm also chatting through just some additional information. I will email that to you as well. And go ahead, Steffi. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. That's fine. That your part there. We're there. So the New Mexico Small Business Development Center has a website, and it's www.nmsdb.org. We have information out there. We have lots of trainings. Trainings have to deal with starting up your business, e-commerce, maybe some of your tax questions, running accounting software, cybersecurity. I also do intellectual property. If you have any questions regarding patents, trademarks, copyrights, I can be reached. Let's see, this is my contact information. So you'll get these websites, and you will be getting a survey later. And let's see, we might have some information. We have that's all I have here. So I'm going to stop sharing.
Well, thank you so much, Steffi. Really appreciate all the valuable information, and thank you everyone for your attendance. We'll give it a second in case you have any last minute questions. Don't hesitate to ask them. Steffi, any closing remarks on your end?
Oh, let me see. Let me send my contact information again. Did you get it? Okay. Let me see.
Okay, yeah, because someone did just ask for your, can you display your contact information again?
Oh, let me see.
And I'll be sure to email that through to you as well, just so you know, but we'll go ahead and display it here.
Okay, so my number is 575-517-6912. Or you can get a hold of me at stephanie.rawlings@nmt.edu. Or you can go to New Mexico Small Business, nmsbdc.org, and look for the Technology Commercialization Accelerator. And my information is there too. So with that, if you guys was I sharing that?
Yes, you were.
Okay.
We got the information. And again, it will be emailed to you, but yeah, we did see that. And I don't think we have any other questions, so we can go ahead and wrap it up unless there's anything else you wanted to say on your end, Estefanita.
No, thank you for attending, and do take care of your systems. There are adversaries out there, and everybody wants information because information is in gold. So take care, and let me know if you have any questions. Contact me. Be free to help you. Okay.
Thanks so much.